All right, you guys, we are parked in Owl Van's parking lot in Denver, Colorado, where we got the new beast. Don't know what we're going to name it yet, but we're putting in a fuel tank. So I wanted to do some other upgrades and a few things while I was here in town, but unfortunately the parts I wanted they didn't have available. So, but let me flip this around, show you guys before and afters. All right, so here's the van. Let's jump down here. Here's the fuel tank. So I want to get, but we're looking at changing this to a 45-gallon fuel tank. So I believe it's going to be a little bit longer that way, which will be cool. There's plenty of room, nothing over there. Got some mud on it already, which is cool, break it in. But I've only had it for a day now. We got 30 minutes before our appointment. So let's go get the van, put that 45-gallon tank on, and I think that's going to be amazing. So I had one time, because I used to keep full fuel on top of my roof just in case I ran low or out. And there was one time I was following the blue line. I always follow the blue line going somewhere, and I went from Devil's Tower in Wyoming to somewhere else, and it took me the closest route. The problem is it never took me through a town to actually get fuel. So I got to the point where I was on fumes, and luckily I had that 5 gallons of extra diesel to get me to where I could get to a fuel station. So I always drive where at a half tank I fill up, because that's about a good time to stand up, walk around a little bit, get some blood in your legs. And now having the extra tank, having 45 gallons instead of 20 something, I think it's 22 or 24 gallons that it comes factory with, I'll be able to drive that much farther and still know I have a reserve of basically a whole normal fuel tank, which will be cool in case you get into some squirrely spot where. And one of the biggest advantages to having the extra fuel tank, I think, is going to be the fact that if I'm driving through a town or an area where fuel expense is like just crazy for some reason, and I can make it to the next state or whatever and actually fill up and save like 40 cents a gallon or maybe even more like in California or something, I'll have that as a benefit. So being able to save, basically 45 bucks if it's $1, all that'll add up, kind of pay for the tank, but more or less it's just the comfort of knowing you got extra fuel available. So we'll see how it goes. Stick around and see how this tank turns out. All right, so we just left the shop. It's Al Van's. We ended up going with some ditch lights. I'll do a video on this later. The grill lights. Upgraded the horn. The horn on a Sprinter van is really silly. It sounds like it should be a little circus car, but under here you can see the new tank. It goes up forward a lot too. So that's 45 gallons of diesel fuel. I have to look at the old video now to see where that starts. It does come up a little more in the front, I believe. You can see that. It'd be nice having that extra fuel. All right, you guys, the takeaways, the fun part of the adventure, getting a chance to communicate with you guys, give you prices, at least as of today. Today's like January 31st, 2025. Want to give a big shout out to Zach over at Al Off-Road in Denver. I've heard of the company. They started out in California when I used to live out there, and heard nothing but good stuff. Seen a lot of their good equipment and what they're selling, and had a chance to. It was basically 5 miles from Transwest where I picked up the RV. So for a long range fuel tank, which is 45 gallons, the one that comes with it The standard one is 24.5. So basically you're gaining 20.5 gallons of fuel. So that's 4 5-gallon fuel cans basically that you would have attached to your vehicle or up on top. So you're maximizing your distance as far as you can go. So if you have a couple drivers and you just pull over, swap drivers, and continue on, you can get places really far. But just, I think for comfort, having the ability to have the extra fuel on board, whether you're, like when I was in Alaska, sometimes the fuel stations would be closed, and they're far and few between up in Alaska. So if you're really trying to get somewhere and, you can't stay there over the night and wait for it to open up in the morning, you have that option. There's a lot of options and bonuses to having the fuel, in my opinion. So whether it's maybe getting through the state, like I think I talked about in the video already, and finding fuel a lot cheaper is obviously a bonus. You're going to make up some of that money that the tank cost, and it wasn't cheap. So I'm going to give you what the prices are. The prices are the same no matter where you get them, or you have it sent to your house and you install it as well. Being out on the road and not in the state that I normally live in, I was like, well, screw it, I'm just going to pay the extra money. So for the fuel tank for a 2023 plus, which this is a 2025, it was $1,549, so $1,549 and $900 to install it. I've seen people do it by themselves, and it probably could have been something that I would have done maybe at the house if I was at the house, but I wasn't, so that was $900. Now I decided, and I really wanted to get some other things while I was here. I wanted floor mats, but they didn't have them, unfortunately. I wanted to look at the bumper in person. I wanted to be able to see the winch in person. They didn't have that stuff. There was some off-road lights that I wanted, and I ended up going with 2 kits. So on the old van, I had the lights on top. It was a nice, beautiful light bar that would light up the world when I was pulling in or trying to find a place to camp, especially out in BLM land or whatever, trying to make sure you don't run into a ditch or whatever the case is. So since I don't have the ability to have a light bar like that up on top, I wanted some extra lighting that can definitely help. So I ended up going with 2 things. I ended up going with the ditch lights. So the ditch lights are the Baja Design Squadron Sport Pair Driving/Combo Clear. Those were $249. The installation was $400. The Hoodline LED pod mount, which is basically the bracket that runs for it, was $110. And then I went with Mercedes-Benz, so basically it's already built in where they added the buttons. That was $65. And some shop supplies for wiring and stuff like that. So the total for that kit was $875. Now, a lot of this stuff you guys can do on your own. You can order lights from wherever and install them yourself. Totally understand. So a lot of this you can save money. Like easy $400 you could have saved not having to pay for the installation. One of the reasons why I did do it that way is I wanted it clean, and I didn't want to mess anything up. Last thing I need to do is screw up some wiring and catch the thing on fire or whatever. Now the grill lights, which I thought were really cool, have an option on them. So with this lighting system, there's 2 magnets. There are 2 red things that you can take off. And what they do is they actually cut your grill. It goes in, it fits in all nice and professional looking. But then there's a really hard magnet to get. So you can either have the magnet in or on it or off. So if you want to use them as running driving lights like normal, where people aren't going to be flashing you because they're too bright, you can take the magnet out. And then if you want to go off-roading, you can put the magnet in. I think, personally, having one of these for the last 3 years, Sprinter van wise, the lighting for normal driving is exceptional compared to some of the stuff that's out on the road, especially the old stuff. If you're an old guy like me and you used to drive with the normal lights that were yellow, you could hardly see anything. These things are nice, especially when you have them on bright. But I wanted something to pass those lights and actually get out into the fields farther when I'm looking for a camping spot. So that's how I set it up. Now those lights were expensive. They were $849. It was $500 to install them, and there's actually work involved in that. You had to cut the grill just perfect and mount all this stuff up. So that one, it makes more sense than the other one, at least, than the $400. But, and then I also have the MB switch, which is just Mercedes-Benz switch, and that was $65 again, and then shop supplies was $21.47. So to get the grill light, you're looking at a total of $14.97, and to get the hood ditch lights that I call them, that was $8.75. And then, if you guys have driven a Sprinter, own a Sprinter, Sprinters come with the dumbest, silliest, goofiest, I don't really have the correct word. You guys would know what I'm talking about. Horn. The horn it's silly. I mean, you driving this big ass thing around and it's like beep, 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 beep. That's like, no, I can't do that. So I ended up getting a horn kit. The horn kit was $159, and it cost them $75 to install it, which was probably just a plug and play thing and remount a screw, but it sounds so much better. So walked out of there with an empty wallet and a melted credit card for $5,166.29. But a big kudos again to Al Off-Road. I knew going in it was going to be expensive. I knew I wasn't going to be able to mount that stuff out on the road. So it is what it is. So you guys have a wonderful day. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. You're going to see some more content on the Sprinter van / Echo. This is started off as and still is a shooting competition. If you're not familiar with me because you searched Echo stuff and found me, I'm a guy that was a retired fire battalion chief, and now I travel all over the United States shooting NRL hunter matches or rimfire matches or PRS matches. So a lot of precision rifle stuff. But in between all that, for those of you that are just looking for Echo stuff, you'll know it's an Echo because you'll see on the thumbnail it'll be on a vehicle. So you can still be a friend of ours and have fun and enjoy the Echo stuff. And if you're the gun guy, maybe you guys are looking to find something for the family to go out and adventure and see the beautiful world that we live in. There's so much pretty stuff out there to see. So hopefully this maybe gets somebody to walk out and decide to go see some nature. So take care.